Great. So let's go ahead and kick this off. So, for those who are not familiar with Founder Connects, because this live talk is by Founder Connects, let me just share here really quickly a slide before I get my guests in on stage. Let me go ahead. Here you go. You should be seeing a slide. Here you go. So, Founder Connects. So, I mean, if you're a founder of an early stage startup, specifically pre seed and seed stage, you're always cracking things in silos. Meaning, if you come with a strategy, you need to do your own research to get an expert to implement this for you. If you want to do it yourself, you watch courses or YouTube to teach yourself on how to do it. If you want to apply to accelerators, you always have to be on the lookout for programs to apply. And most of the time, you might not be able to get in because you might not qualify. And you might want to be hosted on podcasts, for example. So you start doing your own outreach and hoping you'll land one so it can give you a little more exposure. Or if you want to raise funds, for instance, you start looking for investors by yourself, right? So imagine all this under one roof. And that's what Founder Connects is. It's a community, an ecosystem that helps UAE and Saudi tech startups to scale to $1 million by guiding them through the ins and outs. So we crack every step with you. We equip you basically with knowledge, all right, to acquire more customers. We guide you on when to apply to accelerators, incubators, venture studios, and keep you updated on all these programs that are available. We got a list of podcasts that you can immediately apply to. And finally, we help you to connect with investors too. So, and within the community, we've got plenty of live talks. Many are private, happening only inside the community, and some are public, like this one. So I'm happy to introduce to you a new public series of live talks called Founder Flops. It's our first episode. It'll be happening once a month here on LinkedIn. So, what is Founder Flops? It's simply founders from our community coming together in order to share with you a few customer acquisition strategies that didn't work with them and how they've implemented it. Now, that doesn't mean it won't work for you either, because there's a lot of factors for strategies not to work. But this is just to give you additional insights on what these founders did and didn't work. We're always slapped with success stories, right? We even do that with our live talk series called we have a live talk series called Big Story. It's about successful founders. They share with us their journey basically until they succeeded. But we truly believe that failures should be highlighted as much, if not more. So only startups inside the community can participate in these live talks. We already have more than 100 startups, so we've got good stories lined up coming your way. So follow our LinkedIn page to stay up to date on our public live talks. Give me a second here just so I can stop sharing the slide with you. Here you go, Height. Okay. Now, on a personal note, I finally feel the world is getting to know more that founder's journey is not an easy one. Lots of ups and downs, lots of failures, and definitely punches to the heart. So I've got with me three fearless founders today, resilient in every single way, and most importantly, beautiful individuals here to share with you their raw stories, unfiltered ones, on customer acquisition strategies that failed with them. I would like to thank them for being here with us today and open to share these flops with everyone. So let me get them on stage just so I can introduce you to them. Here you go. We can see everyone. Now, without further ado, let me invite my guests and give them the floor to introduce themselves. Muhammad, we can start with you, then Mustafa, and finally Maryam. Just a quick introduction, and then we'll dig into the flops. Muhammad, today, who are you and what do you do?
Thank you so much, Ronnie, for hosting. So my name is Mohammad Alnobani. I'm originally from Palestine. Today settled in Jordan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Middle Frame, which started off as an Arab stock image platform providing authentic Arab images, and today we provide Arab image datasets to reduce bias in AI as well. And this is a very short
Muhammad, I
summary.
would definitely
Yeah,
advise getting your mic a bit closer
a
just so we
bit
can have a
close.
better. That's good. That's good.
For sure. Yes. So yeah, basically the middle frame provides authentic Arab images and stock images at the beginning, and now Arab image data sets to reduce bias in AI. And previously, I worked in advertising and marketing in Qatar and in Palestine.
Muhammad, thank you for being with us today. Mustafa, shall we go ahead to
Oh,
you?
sure, sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Ronnie. My name is Mustafa Al-Khatib. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Grams. And in a nutshell, Grams is a tech meal subscription app and wellness solution. What we do is we provide meals on a day-to-day basis that are both healthy and tasty.
That's quick and easy. That's
Yeah.
quick and easy. Maryam, we'll leave the floor to you now.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Super excited to be on this panel. I'm excited to share some stories. So my name is Maryam Hassani, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zealous. Maybe taking a bit of context as to what brought me into this space would make a lot of sense. So originally, I started in management consulting, getting closer and closer into the tech startup ecosystem through projects and designing, managing startup programs, as well as supporting companies to set up and localize to the UAE and MENA region. From there, I decided, and I essentially caught the bug and decided I wanted to be a founder myself and get closer to the action. From there is when I co-founded Zealous, which originally started in the professional networking space, which I'll share a few stories on during this talk. And currently, what we do and what we pivoted to do quite recently is AI code generation. So quite a leap, and probably a story for another day.
Yeah. So you still have the network, right? Or is it completely pivoted now, right? Which
You
one
know
is it?
that the products actually still exist and are available online to use for free.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds great. So, I mean, we as founders, our biggest challenge is acquiring customers, and we all have implemented different strategies. I think we all learned that testing is king. And for the non-founders here, when speaking about strategy, sometimes it can take up to a month or two to get it up and running, if not even more for some strategies. So a failing strategy really takes a toll on us, and because we put basically a lot of efforts and time into it, right? Sometimes as founders, we go like, there's no way. Like, I mean, there's no way it won't work. And I'm definitely sure we all pass through this phase. And sometimes it just doesn't work. So, Muhammad, I'm sure you've got a couple of strategies that didn't go as planned. Can you share with us, a flop that you truly believed will work and
Yeah,
just didn't end up the way you wanted it?
definitely. So I'll tell you a bit about a story. Like when we first started, we're an early stage startup still till today. Like we're less than 2 years old. We launched our first MVP about a year and a half ago, and we were basically three co-founders, one who's technical and was far off from sales and marketing and so on. But myself and my co-founder Raya, we were focused basically on supply and demand. At the end of the day, we're a marketplace. We wanted to acquire images, get a photographer's community on board, and sell those images. And there was something that I don't know if we believed it ourselves, or we mentioned that you lie to yourself, that you start believing the lie,
Yeah, yeah.
that we did split the roles. Oh yes, we're very clear, like who's responsible for what. And no, like looking back at it today, yes, it's very different. But back then, we were jumping into meetings together. Like whether we're talking to a photographer or to a client, we're jumping all over the place. We're excited, of course. We're passionate about the project, but to clearly split who's responsible for what was an issue. Now that was not the biggest, like that was not the flop itself, but that was what caused the flop. Is that we were
Mhm.
so worried that we're not meeting enough clients and we're not making enough sales or we're not selling at all. So we need more leads. So let's jump into digital campaigns. So before we even reached product market fit, we started spending money on advertising campaigns over LinkedIn and Meta and so on. And that was a horrible mistake.
You go like, what the hell did I do?
Yeah, like why do I want 200 leads where I can't send one?
Yeah, yeah.
And that was a real issue because even our like the awareness, the brand, it was still new in the market. So when one of your biggest clients, the biggest leads that you get, that you would dream after 2 to 3 years like of talking to, you would talk to at a very early stage, it immediately like causes damage to your brand. It
But did
immediately.
you get any leads when you guys started
Oh
your
yeah,
your
oh
ad
yeah.
campaigns? Oh, okay, you
Because
did.
our message was very clear that we are an Arab stock image platform. So if you're a content creator, if you're an advertising agency, especially on
Yeah,
LinkedIn, like if you
yeah.
approach creative directors, we knew that it's a problem. Like after working
Mm.
in advertising for 8 to 9 years, it was a no-brainer that everybody needs authentic Arab images to use in their content. Like today we're going to
Yeah.
talk about generative AI. That's something else. But yeah,
And out of curiosity, did you implement the ad campaigns, or do you have someone that you've hired on a freelancing
no.
basis?
Yeah,
How did it happen? So you guys did that from
yeah,
scratch.
I did it from scratch, and the leads were quite good. Like they were the target market that we wanted, but it was at the wrong time. It was too early to jump into a big campaign with too many people. We had honestly like 2,000 images on our website. So and from different, and that was like another issue is that we targeted everybody that we thought is a target audience.
Mm,
Advertising agencies, marketing teams, content creators. I wanted to talk to everybody,
yeah.
and the images did not represent everybody. The images hardly represented a niche market, and that was a huge problem, like for us at that time, and a lot of wasted resources and time, as you mentioned. Like it takes time to draft the
Yeah.
campaigns, start it off, put the money into the advertising. But yeah,
I think it's a good step that you guys crafted the whole campaign and still got a lot of leads. The problem was getting a lot of leads during that stage. But I mean, what do you think, in your own opinion, you could have done differently in order to make it a success? Is it not starting that soon, or is it just trying to talk to more people to try to understand who could be your best target audience? Because you've got a lot of leads. After getting a lot of
that's
leads,
true.
what happened from there? Did 90% of them drop because they were in the correct audience?
A bit more than 90%, to be honest. Like we're hardly left with one or two like serious
Mm,
clients that wanted to
yeah,
continue, because basically the one two were the niche that we had covered with our supply. And looking back
mm,
at it, yes, the issue was like to launch a digital campaign and wasting money on ads way too soon. How, like without product market fit, without validating who your real target audience at that moment for, of course. Like
yeah,
today, we might be facing a wider audience, but back then, we could satisfy a very small niche out of our target audience. And if we targeted those, then it might have worked as a digital campaign. But we first should have like went organic, talked to people, met with them, tried to sell, but understand which one of them. Is it the
Yeah.
NGOs, or is it the advertising agency, or is it a marketing team in a corporate, and which field, and so on. So because we have a
yeah.
very diverse audience as well. So
And that hurts. That hurts.
definitely.
Seeing these dollars flying and then ending up with just few, just knowing, that, oh,
Yeah.
that wasn't my target audience, but the dollars can come back. So yeah, no, I definitely feel you. I definitely feel you. Mustafa, we'll go to you, man. What's the story that you have for us today?
Sure, sure. Really great story, Muhammad. Yani, we can actually relate to this because my story is kind of similar. And as a B2C company ourselves, we depend so much on traffic. The more traffic we make, the more the ability that we can
So,
sell and get more revenue. And so when we started back in 2023, basically, we have specialized founders in the field. We have a certified dietitian called Lean who helped in crafting the menu, crafting the meals ourselves. I was more into the sales marketing, more into the tech. And so I also have a marketing background. I co-founded a marketing agency that still exists till today. And basically, we went right away, started doing these paid ads all across all social media. Even at that time, TikTok, doing ads on TikTok was something new. And the thing is, we found really good outcomes. The people at the end of the day wanted to be part of Grams. We had customers coming in. But as the time went by, uh, people started to have less attraction to that, or maybe uh, the conversions were little. So you get these leads, you get these interested people, but at the end of the day, they don't convert. So for us, we were burning so much cash. And as you know, as I was saying earlier, for us, we depend heavily on traffic. And again, once you retain that name, the word of mouth starts to play a role as well. But for now, as a startup, traffic is our own thing. Now, once we reached a position that we felt we were getting lots of leads, but not much convergence, we had to look into so many things. And one of the things that we understood is that we are in a high competition market. So
mm,
being part of the meal plan industry, you are in a high competition market. Even if you have tech, even if you have an app or a SaaS or whatever you're trying to give as an addition,
definitely.
at the end of the day, you have a raw product, and that is the food, and it's vital. It's a selling product. People want it, and then at the end of the day, we're all going to eat. But it's a high competition market. So what did we have to do at that time? We had to study the market again, see what's going on, because back in 2016, 2017, 2018, let's say pre-COVID days, uh, meal plans were selling at a higher price, and people were okay paying for it. Now, as you can see with the forecast of the economy, interest rates are high, inflation rates is going high, and at the same time, purchasing power is lower than before. We understood that we had to work around the pricing. So our just working around the pricing and eliminating certain features, eliminating certain elements, ingredients, things about the meal as well, not without degrading its quality, was our go-to. And from there, things began to start to pick up again and again and again. And for me, what I understood and what I learned is you have to create, especially in our economy right now, you have to create two things: an ability for the customer to pay. So it has to be feasible for them to pay it without feeling like they're paying a load of money. And at the same time, the desire to pay. You have to have a good product. You don't go out there having a product that is, half or maybe about to be a good product. No, you have to have a good product, and it has to be interesting so that you can go to the next stage, which was the first point that I said, which is the ability to pay, and that is the pricing. Once we looked again at the pricing aspect, we started
Mustafa,
to
sorry, can I cut you off because I have a question to the very first point. So here
Yeah,
you
sure.
have an influx of people coming in because eventually you guys are you need that traffic at the end of the day,
Yeah,
and you've seen good conversion rate at that time, or was it
yeah.
more off traffic? So you've seen conversion rate, right?
We've seen conversion rates at that time when we first started back in
And
2023,
then
and we
that's
were
when it started declining a bit, right?
exactly around
Okay.
October, things started to decline. Yeah, things we're not going. There was a different pattern. Definitely, there was a different pattern, and we had to dig deeper to find what was
Yeah.
what made it so different.
Interesting.
Yeah,
It's interesting that you've started on the high end spectrum of this, right? Like usually most startups they literally start on the lowest, let's put it that way, spectrum, and then they start optimizing and in order to increase their conversions, and just starting high and then declining there and then optimizing. That's not the usual stories that I usually hear, by the way,
yeah,
which is very interesting.
yeah.
And I think you've mentioned about competing. I think what I understood from you, you competed with the others on the pricing model and on the quality, right?
Exactly. So the whole thing about us was, how can we get these people that already depend on this type of, let's say, approach to life, let's say,
Yeah.
called meal plans, because we have a value and we are providing it in a different way, a much more feasible way, but people don't know about us. So how are we
Yeah.
going to break that? How are we going to reach that with the least amount of paid ads or putting marketing budget? Just say our price is lower. That's it. Forget about the profit margin. Forget about the gross profit. Just make sure you break even at least for a month, 2 months, and from there, when the customer comes and he's with you, take care of him. See, this is the part again, because this is how you also retain the low price that you gave at the beginning, is when you
So
take care and you ensure a customer success journey with the customer you just attained.
okay, so in your opinion, I mean, how would you have launched differently in that case?
I would definitely say, now,
Because you started good.
yeah, we
So
started with,
you
but see,
started good.
it's a timeline thing. See, you cannot predict economies, you cannot predict the weather, right? So when that happens, that's when you learn, and that's when when something like this happens in the future, you can know how to prepare for it, right? For
Yeah.
us, we didn't know. We have a certified dietitian. We have an ex meal plan owner with us as a co-founder as well. Our co-founders are top notch, man. I'm telling you. I'm not saying
Yeah.
because they're my
Yeah, no,
co-founders,
no,
but I'm not saying, yeah. But I'm saying that because we were ready, we were prepared, and that explains pretty much why we had that big influx in revenue, and the acceptance rate was very high as a new company and in a
yeah,
very tight
yeah.
and high market. But yeah, you learn the hard way, I guess.
Yeah, I think maybe in your case, it was more about taking into consideration the competitive advantages before you even launch. I mean, if you have
Oh yeah,
looked at the quality and the lower pricing model, maybe you could have retained, for instance, the high number of customers that came in initially. And you said something very interesting about you coming from a marketing background and you
yeah,
still launch really quick, right? And usually marketeers this is like the last thing that they end up doing, but that's what there's a lot of people don't understand the excitement of getting something out, and sometimes getting something out is probably the correct thing to do, just in order to learn. But because we just tend to get so excited, we start putting some marketing money behind it, and but yeah, there's a lot of other things that are way more important to put behind the launch instead of money. But yeah, I mean, look, again, it's the first time I hear such an interesting story about starting high and then going low and then going back high. But it's interesting to hear. And Maryam, I'm very excited to hear about what you have in mind.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been great listening to your stories. my story is more along the lines of our hard lessons learned in a social network type of an app. So it's funny, I thought about this a lot, and just speaking to more first-time founders, the idea of creating a social app is quite common. You know, a lot of founders come in and they say, you know, I'm just gonna make this amazing app, and I'm sure people are just gonna, you know, like everyone's gonna want to be on it.
Become
And it's
Zuckerberg or
yeah, like how hard could it be? You know, Facebook, Instagram. So the first product we made in the professional networking space was very much trying to rethink how can we help professionals connect better. Just given how much we know about LinkedIn, and a lot of people really don't like LinkedIn, but nonetheless they still spend a lot of time on it, and you can guess why. There's 200 million users on LinkedIn. That's the main reason. Obviously, you want to find people. That's the core driver. So people put up with the sales robots, people trying to message you on and sell you things, or like on in the messages.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we went ahead and created the product. There were some early adopters. People were telling us things we wanted to hear. I think that's another big lesson learned, asking the right questions. So, you know, you don't get too swayed in the wrong direction with all the compliments or just niceties. So my story is more along the lines of how did I go about solving the chicken and egg problem in a social network. So our product was very much so the core of it, right, was intention-based matching. So the idea behind it was that a lot of other applications like LinkedIn and so on, they match you with people who are similar to you. But in a space like the startup space, for example, you don't want to find more people like you, but rather you want to find someone who's complementary to what you're trying to accomplish. So we had this in mind and developed our matching algorithm to meet that objective of how do you find people who reciprocate what you're trying to do. So matching in the sense of intentions. And another main differentiator was being geolocation based. So people around you. So the ultimate, the ultimate picture would be you're maybe traveling in a different city or even around, the city you're from, and you have this idea in your mind and you're looking for, okay, I want to test this out with a marketeer, or I want to meet my co-founder who would be technical, and I would be in the non-technical co-founder. So pretty much trying to find your other half or other piece.
Oh, you didn't have that other co-founder yet, right? Or did
no,
you?
At the time, yeah. Well, I started off not having a technical co-founder. So that's another story there.
It's a hard journey that by itself.
Yeah, 100%. And I've been through the experiences of working with dev firms, and 100%. There's a lot of other stories.
We can do another live talk for that specifically. just that point.
No, but keeping on track with the story. So the idea of how do we get users, right? Because if you're logging into the Zealous social app and you see no one else around you, you're going to be demotivated. You're obviously going to probably not re-log in. So at the time we were thinking, okay, how do we get users and get them fast? And this was around the GITEX time. So a month or two before GITEX, we realized what better place than to get as many users as we can than the biggest tech event in the region.
In the region, yeah.
So we said, let's go for it. Let's have a little exhibition space. But our main intention was user acquisition. So what I also did was I worked with a few university students and just hired them. Be like, listen, I need you guys for 4 days. We'll set you up with some t-shirts and swag, and we just want you to go and get as many users as you can. Tell them about Zealous and tell them you being in GITEX was actually the ultimate situation to be in, right? Even if you're traveling in for this event, and given how large it is, all you're thinking about is how can I meet every single person here? Obviously, the GITEX app is not doing its job well. It complains about it's very hard to find people if it's working at all. And so we thought that was our pitch. Go to people at GITEX and tell them whether you live here or you're traveling in, doesn't it really suck that you're probably not going to meet everyone here? And chances are, that one person you're trying to meet, what are the chances you're actually going to run into them in this busy event? Yeah. Why not download this app where a lot of people on GITEX are also downloading it and be able to connect with them after the event ends as well? So that was the main value prop, how once the event ends, your opportunities don't end with it. So it worked well enough. We got a few hundred people to want to sign up, but one issue that was the internet at the time. So everyone who was on Wi-Fi had a really hard time downloading the app. So that was a lesson learned. But even then, we had a few hundred users from those days, and you could think that was a bit of a success, but
So that's what I wanted to ask you, because when it comes to social media apps or social networks, I think maybe 8 years ago, something like that, I think probably 90% of the founders in Dubai somehow try to do a social media network, all right, thinking that they want to become the next Zuckerberg. But
yeah.
my question is, with this, all right, there's always two types of conversions. You have the free sign up conversions, and you have the paid conversions, right? Did you have any paid uh, packages back then, or is
No,
it
at the time we didn't have a paywall. It was literally we just need people on the app, because I mean, them being on the app would be beneficial to keep others to join, right? Like if you open
That's
the app,
true.
there are other people around you, and you can use the app for what it was primary intention was, which was to help you meet those people quickly, like in 20
Okay.
minutes, either
So
virtually or
your KPI was just getting free signups. That was
yeah.
like your ultimate
And
KPI.
then
Okay, cool.
we'd look into retention, right? Like we'd then look
Yeah.
into how often they use the app and how sticky it is for them, and so on. But I think our main flop here was GITEX is primarily an international event. So once they all traveled back to their home country or home city, we had the same problem. So now at the time, it was quite funny because we could see where the locations are. So we ended up like having one or two users in like it would be like one person all on their own in Nigeria, and then there would be like another person or a few others like in London and in different places. So
And you
I
were
think
like, that wasn't the plan.
I mean, you guys stick together, right? But no, it was. I think in terms of learnings, it was really good, because what we were able to do is then also think about, do we really want to be a social app that's primarily the main driver here is that you see other people around you. Like, did we really want that to be our defining success factor? Because it's uncontrollable, right? Like, and then you think about response rates. If you have an intention to meet someone and the other person doesn't reciprocate within a day or something, what happens then? So all of these like cases started to come up, and it really allowed us to start thinking critically about whether this was the right product that we wanted to bring into the market. Was it really worth it, honestly, as a problem to solve for? And that actually led us to think about other features that potentially could be more useful for users, and it would not depend on other users being active on the platform. So that's what led us to a really interesting feature that we brought on, which is like an AI networking assistant, which allows you to import your LinkedIn contacts into the app and query it. So being able to say, who do I know in Dubai who's an investor? And then it would actually list people who you just have connections with on LinkedIn, because I think everyone knows, not everyone knows who you've connected with on LinkedIn, and it's always hard to find the person if you don't remember their name. So this was our way to kind of bring AI into the mix and see how useful it could be, even in cases where you could put a LinkedIn URL of someone you think is interesting and ask your personal assistant on Zealous, what's a really personalized way to introduce myself to this person, and then they would, take all the information they can from that person's LinkedIn and come up with something interesting. So I think that was more us dabbling in the space, again, looking at how AI can change or improve the networking experience. But yeah, that was my main lesson from our user acquisition fail.
I mean, as a growth hacking, strategy that you've used in order to use GITEX to bring in, a couple of hundred signups, and you've said, you've mentioned something about being on ground. Were you on ground just with these students, having these students there, or did you have like your own booth in GITEX back then, or how did it work?
Yeah, so we had our booth.
You had your booth, all right. So basically, you had to pay, right?
I mean, we got into like this incentive type program, so we got to
okay.
we got to benefit from a free space. But again, we weren't spending
So it
time.
didn't hurt much. That's what I wanted to say. It didn't hurt much.
Yeah. I think keeping costs low is always important, unless it really makes sense for you to be paying that amount. But for us, it made sense because we obviously wanted access to the event itself. But we were on the ground most of the time. Like I had the team.
But it makes a lot of sense. I mean, that it's usually a growth hacking, strategy, just to do what you did, and I think it just checks all the boxes to when it comes to having or building or crafting probably one of the best growth hacking strategies in order for you to launch. But what do you think you could have done differently in order to really sustain this? Because definitely you saw that problem of everyone going back to their home countries, maybe. But do you tell yourself like, oh, you know what, I wish I've done this before, we've executed this strategy in order to avoid anything else or avoid whatever you basically ended up with?
I think part of it was just we knew that we would only know once we tried it. Like we
Yeah.
could always assume like what would happen, but honestly, we just wanted enough users on the using the platform to even see like how the platform would withstand that amount of users using it, or just seeing how they interact with it. Like it was very much an experiment and learning opportunity for us. Like we
Yeah.
wanted to actually see how they would use it. Would they figure out the different buttons or features? Would they read the tutorial I spent hours crafting? I mean, the answer to that is no, unfortunately. But it's just hard. It's just hard lessons learned. Like you really get into the minds of your user once you just have them, give them the opportunity to interact with your product, and it's a humbling experience, to be honest.
But sometimes I look back at my failed strategies, and sometimes I just don't find an answer to why it didn't work, because I always try to think about, all right, like why didn't this strategy work when I really believed in it, and everything was planned accurately. And these are all assumptions, obviously, right? Because they end up not working the way we want it to work. But and I always look back trying to figure things out, and sometimes I just can't figure it out. It's as simple as
I
that.
mean, one lesson we did figure out was those that really are like the product was more sticky to them were mostly people who are in sales or lead gen, so
Yeah.
or own their own firm, and obviously like they're networking for work, right? Like they're not networking for fun. So those were the people who are more sticky, and obviously the value prop for them was they might find their next client on the app. But obviously most clients are people who are just there to make professional connections and talk to people. They don't want to be like badgered by by salespeople.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was interesting. It was like what we got left with was a lot of salespeople.
Yeah. We try to control that in the community. By the way, I don't know if you guys realize, like we have a big disclaimer there, like for the experts, because eventually we want experts inside the community, so they can inspire our other founders. So we have this big disclaimer about not not becoming too salesy. But yeah, eventually you just sometimes you just have to put things there and try to control it. As simple as that. Maryam, thank you again for sharing this first flop of yours, and we'll go on our next flops now. This time we'll start with Mustafa, and then we'll move ahead to Muhammad. Actually, we'll move ahead to Maryam, and then maybe we can end up with Muhammad. All right, Mustafa, what's the second story that really sticks in your mind and
this whole time
keeps you awake?
while Maryam, you and Maryam were speaking, I was just like, what is my second flop? I'm trying to see what is my second flop. But one thing that came into my mind while she was speaking is the idea of just having, a tech product. And sometimes, when somebody like a co-founder or when somebody has an idea and they're set out to start, just working on this tech and trying to find ways. And the first thing that would come to their mind is, okay, let me go look for a CTO. And then, you just can't find that. It's not that easy. And then you go ahead and start to reach out to Upwork, to Fiverr. You're trying to reach to these, tech people, right? And I've learned this the hard way, is that never work with dev shops. Never ever work with people
Not at all.
software development, whatever, anything, websites, apps. I've learned it the hard way, and it affected actually, because I was putting timelines, and I was expecting the app to be at a point to be outside, and then it wasn't, and it was just a mix of things. And I've learned it the hard way, and I even looked into it even more. And this is something that a lot of mentors, let's say, or startup co-founders or previous startup co-founders, that they always preach is start with somebody like one guy on the front end, one guy on the back end, put them on a payroll, put them on something part-time, something doable. Start with just one small feature, and build it up as you go. I just wanted to go big from the first, because as you can see from the first thing that I've shared, is that we were already generating revenue. We wanted to pick up the pace. We wanted to be fast. You need to be fast as a startup. You need to implement fast and go out there fast. So this was my motto. But having that fast paced sense of urgency, let's say, that sense of urgency plus working with a dev shop do not mix together.
Yeah, I think we all pass through, that specific mistake, and I always, I always explain it. So whenever I used to explain it to someone else, I used to tell them, I was always blinded by my vision, because sometimes the idea grows so much in your head, and you end up getting too excited building what's in your head, because you're so excited as a founder, and that's where things starts going bad. I had a lot of people coming to me and asking me, like, Ronnie, what's the first thing we need to do in terms of as a non-tech founder? I tell them straight up, I go like, find co-founder that is technical. Yeah, but we know this company. I was like, no. Just find a co-founder that is technical. Yeah, but we don't know anyone. I was like, figure it out. Like, you still didn't start. That's you cannot have that. Figure it out. All right. That's like the least thing that you have to figure out. Figure it out. So yeah, definitely. Like hiring these dev shops is
It's
like
a mess,
I
man.
personally went through it, and it was such a big mistake. Cool. Maryam, we'll go back to you. We're coming back to you now.
Okay, I mean, just found that 100% do not work with a different, because I think as a non-technical founder in the MENA, in the UAE specifically as well, there's a lot of shark dev firms out there. Like, they prey on non-technical founders, which is very sad to know, but it's true. I mean, they want business, and the product that they will give you, I mean, this is assuming that it's a well-built product. I think the way that non-technical founders go about it, I think they really miss an important step, which is the iteration process. And you do not want to go to a customer with a full-blown built-out product, because not only will they probably like completely, shatter your dreams, and you'll realize there's a lot of changes that have to be made, but it also might even confuse them, right? Like, customers want easy, they want simple, they want like a good experience. That's all they want. They want, and I think as a non-technical founder, especially if it's your first venture, your first idea, you overbuild it. I think that's like another big trap all first-time founders fall into.
It's a huge trap.
True.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I think my second flaw. Oh, so many to choose from. Like let me I mean, my second flop can, again, in the realm of user acquisition. So lessons learned from the GITEX experience. We then started to go more. We started to go B2B. So we wanted to have some sort of like arrangement partnership with event organizers, community managers, so people who already have a community and users. And the idea was that we'll create like a private group on Zealous, the social app, for them specifically. So if you're part of a specific event, you paid a ticket to attend, or you're part of a community, you will always have access to that community, and then that's using the geolocation feature. So the idea is wherever you're in the world, you're easily able to communicate and schedule meetings with someone else in that community, and we also notify you when and if it makes sense to actually meet them based on an intention.
Okay.
Which was actually a good idea, because people were more excited to do that, because again, if you're paying a ticket for a certain event, you don't want to have to feel the pressure to have to meet everyone at that time and place, right? So we kind of gave that flexibility there, and so we partnered with one program manager in the startup space, and they had a demo day. So we essentially sponsored the networking of that experience, and it was great. But what we wanted to also make sure is that people, in fact, sign up. So we thought about, okay, what is the smoothest way to do this? Let's send them a quick email once they RSVP, once they register, breaking it down into steps. This is exactly how you sign up. Here's the link. You're part of this exclusive community, and so on. And ideally, they do this before they go to the event, right? Because then they'll also be able to see at that event and be able to talk to or target conversations, right? Like, make the most out of the time they have there. Yeah, in theory sounds great, right? But then practice did not go as planned.
That's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for.
That is again, humbling experience. Whatever you think, as well as you can strategize, your users they'll just bulldoze right over that. So I think a lesson learned would be, don't spend too much time in that phase, because the best answer you can get, or the best answer you can get, is to actually try it. So back to that event. So we get there. We kind of set up this cute little stand, making sure everyone who walks in, just reminding them, why don't you open your app while you're here, check out who's around. And of course, 98% of everyone who showed up did not download the app and probably didn't open that email. So us being the founders that we are, we told them, download the app. And I think they assumed that they can't get in without downloading the app at that point. And I don't think anyone came to correct them, but they ended up we started to create a bit of a queue around the main door, where everyone's just downloading the app. waiting for it to load. And at the time, our
You're,
onboarding.
you're very aggressive on your strategies, by the way. You're just going into
The thing
Vitex,
is,
getting some
no,
people
I like
around. You're making people, stand at the door.
they
Just you're not
assumed
getting in,
they
except.
assumed
You're not getting in,
they assumed
now
it
go
didn't
to
get
the
in,
app.
but
I like it.
I didn't mind that, and I didn't bother correcting them. So
Yeah.
they ended up downloading the app, and at the time, our onboarding was a bit longer than it should have been.
Yeah.
So filling out the onboarding, but honestly, what I did was literally just watch them do the onboarding, and that was again like a big learning, experience. And then literally messaging my co-founder and CTO Frank, like at the same time, this isn't, like, why is this happening? Like again, when people use it is when you're gonna see the bugs that need to
Oh,
be
yeah.
fixed. You think
Oh, yeah.
you're onboarding and make it faster. So big learning experience, but user acquisition flop nonetheless.
Yeah. By the way, I have an interesting story from the audience, and it's to you, Maryam, because we actually mentioned this, this thought of, as founders, always thinking big. And we rarely think of the opportunities that could be created if we sometimes think small. All right. So Darwish has a very interesting question related to this. So the question is, Maryam, have you thought of utilizing Zealous to be an add-on on the back end of LinkedIn as a recurring revenue stream for LinkedIn to utilize your add-on by paying you a subscription?
No, that's an interesting idea. So LinkedIn, when you think about LinkedIn as a business, you ask yourself, like, where do they make their money? They make their money off of their premium subscriptions, right? And most of the time,
And
it's
ads,
for
yeah.
it's marketing and HR recruitment. So if you really think about it, LinkedIn doesn't really care if you guys meet up or make friends in the chats, right? Like they're not monetizing that. And the same goes for many large event organizers, like the GITEXs, right? Like where do they make their money? It's from exhibition spaces and ticket sales. And so again, you ask yourself, like, how do you, if you were to work with that partner, what would that ideal partner look like? You would have to have aligned intentions, or at least, your success is their success. So,
but don't you think, capitalizing on their audience, since LinkedIn has a huge audience trying to figure out, a specific loophole where they're not, when you go like, what, they're not looking too much on that specific angle or in this specific corner. Let me just cannibalize whatever I can. And I've seen so many people, making a lot of money just by launching widgets. I'm like, why do I need to change the world? Let me just launch a widget, So, but yeah, it's definitely like an interesting approach. Looking into.
I think that was our intention behind the feature where you're able to import your LinkedIn contacts. Obviously, LinkedIn doesn't want you doing that.
Oh,
Under
yeah,
GDPR, you're able to do that as a user, and we make it super easy to do on our app. So importing your LinkedIn contacts, and then that was, again, maybe that was another user acquisition strategy. There is that once you query it and try and get a better understanding of who doing what, there's also an option to message that person. So messaging them on LinkedIn and inviting them to join the social, like the Zealous social app, and speaking to them there.
That's a very interesting way.
Yeah, but LinkedIn themselves, they would not be happy, because you'll also notice in the chat they have like a built-in meeting scheduling, like when you say, oh, let's meet, and then it just pops up like a Zoom kind of thing. Yeah. So what they don't have is geolocation.
Okay, interesting. Maryam, thanks again. Muhammad, we're going to wrap up with the last flop with you today.
Thank you. It's gonna be a very short one and a quick one, and it's mostly inspired by Maryam. All about events. Events used to have user acquisition, whether it's B2B or B2C. First of all, know your target audience. Like, is it the right place? Is it the right event? Or if the event is too big for you, and this was our mistake, like for the first year, not just the first event. We attended so many events in the first year that we wanted brand awareness all over the place. And the major issue was behind it is that you're still too early. You're not prepared. We were not prepared, to be honest, especially the first event. It wasn't a very big one, but it was quite good. We went there, myself and my co-founder, the CTO. He was able to travel with me, and we were standing at the booth with business cards. Nothing else. Literally nothing else. Like, there's a sign that says the middle frame, and we're standing there
That's
very
not too
early,
early.
and
That's
the
like very, very
short
early.
paragraph that we provide Arab images, and a QR code that takes you to the website. And again, as Maryam mentioned, not one event, honestly, in different countries. Like, we attended events in 5 countries across till today. Lately, we did learn our mistakes, of course, but 5 countries, whether it's Europe or the Middle East, internet never works. And to depend on people to visit your website, it's not going to work. You either have something very quick, very easy, a short form to fill, just get the leads out of it and get them serious. Like, oh, if you fill this quick survey, you get a discount. This is what we did actually in the last event, and it was the only event that the results actually mattered. The previous,
Honestly, that's a beautiful
honestly, like,
solution.
and I don't know, like, it did not cross our minds. Like, we thought, like, oh, anybody who's interested is going to visit the website. And we kept repeating the same mistake. Oh, maybe we should give them like a free package if they sign up on the website on the spot. Nobody's going to sign up again. There's no connection. And it's a very basic problem, but it's major for a tech event. And this is a question to all of the event organizers. Please do fix this problem.
Yeah, by the way, you're saying tech events without
Exactly.
Wi-Fi. That sounds
Exactly,
like
because
that's so
even the
ironic.
Wi-Fi cannot handle the crowd, like, or I don't know what the issue is, but I'm talking about different countries here. Unless it's outdoors, then the
Yeah.
4G could kind of work, or for the 5G or whatever. But still, like, you cannot depend on it. So finally, we fixed it by having the short survey with a small incentive, and people would fill the survey. They are ready to fill like 3, 4, 5 questions to get the incentive. You would reach out. At least 20 to 30% would reply out of those on the first moment, then you follow up, and then they would reply. So you would get an 80% reply rate because they were serious to fill in a quick survey. But yeah, that was like a major flop, to be honest. And all of the events that we attended till today were mostly free, like from programs or support and so on. But the time that you waste, and it's a lot,
Time,
and
yeah.
you're traveling from one place to another,
Yeah.
etc. So that's the amount of money and resources that you should account for as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for providing a solution for that
Anytime.
specific flop. So, so now we know what to do if we get invited to an event. Look, I mean, I can't. I'm trying to process, all the insights that I just heard from all of you today. But really, thank you all for sharing all these flops with us. It's been an inspiring session, and I hope the audience gain, valuable insights from that. Before we wrap things up, I'd just like to end it with just like a really quick short story. I had a mentor on my previous startup, and he was like, Ronnie, when Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, the company was just months away from bankruptcy. But with focus, innovation, and dedicated team, he actually turned it into one of the most valuable companies in the world. So he was like, remember, every challenge is an opportunity in disguise. And it just struck me when when he told me that. So keep pushing forward, stay connected with our community. For the audience here that are watching, if you want to join our community, you can visit our website. It's www.founderconnects.com, or check it out on our LinkedIn page. We have we do our best in order to give you the best journey possible, in order to help you scale and be there with you in every single step along the way. And let's continue supporting each other on this tough journey. Maryam, Mustafa, Muhammad, again, thank you for being with us today. Any last words before we close
Yeah,
this?
sure. First and foremost, man, thank you, Ronnie, for having this all together. And I really want to
Appreciate
say
you
one
all,
thing
man.
also, is that this is not something just to say to you, or to make it about you, but really, we love Founder Connects. I think it's a good solution for founders.
Man,
And
I appreciate that.
I want to see more things over there. And yeah,
I
I just
promise
want
you
to
soon.
see this flourish, man. I want to see this flourish.
Yeah, definitely. No, I promise you, there's a lot of things coming your way. There's a lot of things coming your way, and I really appreciate these words, Mustafa. So thank you so
No
much,
worries.
man.
No worries. No worries.
So thank you
Thank
all
you.
for watching as well. Sorry, Maryam,
Thanks,
were you saying anything?
Yeah, just thank you, Ronnie. Thanks, guys. This was fun.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
thank you for being here.
Thank
So
you.
thank you all. Follow our LinkedIn page, to stay updated for the next events, and I hope to catch you at our next one. See you soon.
Take care, guys. Been a pleasure.